Welcome to The Resilient Mind, a psychology-grounded podcast from intellectual healing. I'm Ophelia Chapa. Here we explore the inner mechanics of healing, how the mind, the nervous system, and identity work together over time. Let's begin. In today's episode, we will discuss why discipline fails under stress. There's a lot of pressure right now to be disciplined, to stay consistent, to push through, to feel like you should be able to get things done no matter what's happening around you or inside of you. And there's often a part of you that nags at you with thoughts like, I know what I need to do, I just can't do it. Or, why do I keep shutting down when I have so much to do? And when that happens, it can leave you doubting your own capabilities. It can feel like there's one part of you that knows you're capable and another part of you that just doesn't comply with what you want, need, or feel you have to do. So you might tell yourself things like, I'm just not motivated enough, or start wondering if something is wrong with you. And sometimes that turns into frustration, even anger at yourself, which can take you down a pretty self-defeating rabbit hole. What's interesting is that the moment you want discipline from yourself, it often seems to be the exact moment it disappears. Because if discipline worked the way we think it does, stress wouldn't derail us. But it does. And that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means something else is happening under pressure, something that usually sits just outside your awareness. We tend to think of discipline as a personal trait. It's something you either have or you don't, and something you should be able to access whenever you need it or want it. But discipline actually belongs to a specific part of the system. It relies heavily on things like planning, judgment, future orientation, the ability to pause, weigh options, and choose. And all of that lives in the neocortex, the part of the brain that houses your executive functioning. And here's the part that most people don't realize. Executive functioning doesn't operate well under pressure or threat. So when stress rises, discipline doesn't just disappear somewhere, it gets overridden. Not because you're incapable, and not because you're unmotivated, but because another system has stepped in. One that was never designed to think beyond the moment, because the job it's only set to do is to keep you safe. Here's an interesting way I'd like for you to think about this. Imagine yourself and your inner world like a company. And when I say inner world, I'm talking about your central nervous system. Your neocortex, the part of the brain that's responsible for executive functioning, is like the CEO. It's in charge of vision, strategy, long-term direction. Your nervous system, on the other hand, is like an employee, a very loyal one, trained for speed, protection, and survival. Nothing more and nothing less. That employee was hired during a crisis, somewhere along the lines of your past, and it learned how to keep you safe, not how to plan your future. So under stress, leadership quietly shifts. The employee, your nervous system, steps in. The CEO, your executive functioning, steps out. And suddenly, survival is making executive decisions. That's when discipline stops working. Not because you don't care, but because the system in charge knows its job. And that job is to respond quickly and keep you safe. Remember, discipline needs the CEO to be online. When you push harder, it backfires. And this is where most people get stuck. When they notice discipline isn't working, they push themselves even harder. And not just at what they are trying to do, but at themselves too. They shame themselves. They get frustrated. They try to overpower their reactions. They tell themselves to just do it or push through it. But from the nervous system's perspective, discipline under stress doesn't sound like motivation. It sounds like danger. It sounds like move faster, do more, don't stop, ignore what you're feeling. And when the nervous system hears that, it does exactly what it was designed to do. It resists. It's not trying to sabotage you or to make things harder for you. It's just trying to protect you. Because when stress is high, the system isn't working. It's not asking what's the goal, it's asking are we safe? And when that question hasn't been answered, everything else gets pushed to the background. So motivation doesn't disappear, it gets deprioritized. And focus doesn't disappear either, it just gets redirected. Survival comes first, every time. What does leadership really mean? It doesn't mean control, and it definitely doesn't mean silencing the nervous system. A lot of people assume that leading themselves means overriding what they feel, pushing through discomfort, or ignoring their internal signals. But that's not leadership, that's force. Leadership is something much quieter than that. Leadership means returning to the room. It means recognizing the difference between the part of me that has important information, the employee, and the part of me that makes the final decision. The nervous system is incredibly valuable. You don't have to retire the employee. It provides data, it detects risks, it signals limits, it tells you when something feels off, when you might need to slow down, or when something deserves your attention. But it was never meant to run the company. When leadership is restored, when the CEO comes back online, the system, also known as the employee, can begin to relax. Not because stress disappears, and not because life suddenly gets easier, but because the nervous system is no longer alone at the helm. It doesn't have to carry responsibility it was never designed to hold. And when that pressure lifts, clarity starts to return. If discipline has been failing you lately, I want to leave you with a few questions to consider, not instructions, but questions you can sit with, questions you can notice rather than answer right away. When you're under pressure, which system has been making the decisions? Has leadership quietly stepped out and survival has taken over? And what would it feel like to stop fighting your system and start leading it instead? To recognize that nothing inside of you is broken, but that some parts may be carrying responsibilities they were never meant to hold. This way of understanding stress, not as a personal failure, but as a misalignment in leadership roles, is central to the work we do at Intellectual Healing. And if nothing else, I hope this gives you a little more compassion for the hard work your system has been doing to keep you safe. Remember, it may not be that you need to do more. It may simply be about allowing your leadership to come back online. And as I leave you with this episode, take a moment to notice what resonated, not to analyze it, but simply to hold it with awareness. Resilience isn't built by pushing harder. It's built by understanding more clearly what your system needs. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, this is The Resilient Mind.